Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world and what time you are actually watching this. Welcome to today's webinar where we're going to be talking about managing your time like a CEO. I am Bernadette L. Harris. I'm actually the CEO and the forensic accountant here at the BTB Advisory Firm. And we are a firm where we are really committed to keeping small business in business. And one of the roles that I play in that is coaching small business owners from strategy to success. So tonight I wanted to share some of the things that I do in my business to be more efficient, and some of the ways that I actually coach some of my clients when it comes down to being more efficient in your business. So before I get started, I'm going to throw out my whole little disclaimer that these are the things that I do. These are the things that work for me. I'm going to share with you my playbook. I'm not saying that this is the way, it's just my way. That's disclaimer number one. Disclaimer number two is I don't always do this. So there are days when I don't follow my own advice, and those days tend to suck. Those are the days when I am not as productive as I could be or should be. And so I'm just sharing that just to let you know that, because I also want you to give yourself some grace and permission to sometimes not do what you're supposed to do. And some of those days where I'm not that productive, they end up being some pretty amazing days too. So just kind of sharing that. So as we talk about this, I want to start with just sharing a little bit of my story. So I started my firm just under 22 years ago. And when I started my firm 22 years ago, I started it because I had another business. I had several other businesses before this business. And one of the things that I realized is that people understood how to do whatever it is that they did, whether it was baking a cake or defending a criminal or fixing a bike. They knew how to do what it is that they did, but running the whole business part was the part that was the challenge. And because I am a teacher at heart, I wanted to start a firm that would not only be able to provide people, business owners with accounting, with small business advice, but I also wanted to teach them how to run their businesses the right way. So fast forward throughout those 22 years, I grew my firm, crazy growth, to the point where my growth, it made me sick, literally made me sick, because I was working insane number of hours a week. I don't even want to say the number, but sometimes I was working about 60 to 70 hours a week. And there were some weeks where I worked as many as 80 hours a week. And so it was really crazy to work those kind of hours. That's insane when I think about it, especially when I think about where my life is now. And doing that essentially caused me to be sick. In March of 2021, I got a hypertension diagnosis, and I was overweight at the time and just struggling with a whole lot of things. And I realized, not very quickly, but soon enough, that I needed to make some changes if I wanted to be around. And so I did. And so for those of you who do not know me, I actually left the United States in May of 2022 and moved to Mérida, Mexico. So that's where I am right now. If you see any sweat on my forehead, it's because it's 89 degrees here. And it's in the evening. So whatever. I have my AC on. It's going to get cool in a second. But I moved to Mérida, Mexico. And since I've moved to Mexico, I have been able to implement even more of the strategies that I'm going to share with you tonight to help me to get more done without working 60, 70, or God forbid, 80 hours a week. Sometimes people ask me, like, when they see my social media posts, or probably mostly my social media posts, like, do you ever work? Because I work a 4-day work week. So my office is closed on Friday. Everybody gets Friday off. So the office is closed on Fridays. And I, for the last couple of months, I've been testing this out to see if it actually works, and it does. So I've personally taken at least 1 week off every single month. And during that week, I'm usually traveling to some new place, right? And so taking a week off, taking every Friday off. Fridays are what I call my wellness days. So you might see me at the beach on Friday, and that is all about wellness because my doctor told me that the salt air is good for my thyroid. And I take that as medical advice. And so when I'm at the beach, it is about wellness, right? And so Wellness Friday sometimes looks like me going to the spa. It definitely includes me going to therapy. It includes me maybe getting a facial, whatever the case may be, just doing something that is going to help with my own personal wellness. So that's my story. And that is what has helped me to be even more efficient in my business. And so I can tell you, can I just tell y'all something? Right. So in the last 2 years, I have worked less in my business and have made more. Anybody interested in hearing about why? So one of the things that I wanted to share, the reason that I wanted to do this, and I know there are people who are not here tonight who need this, right? But the reason that I wanted to share this is because I know there are other people who are experiencing the overwhelm that I was experiencing. And so I just want you to be free, right? So like I said, I don't believe that this is the way. It is just my way. And it is something that has worked really well for me. So grab your notebooks and let's just talk about some of the time management tips that you do. So one of the things that I always tell people when we have the time management conversation is the first thing that you need to do is track your time. This could be considered a time audit or something, but we need to figure out where are you spending most of your time. So I tell people when in coaching sessions, especially when I bring on a new coaching client, I may tell them for this week, I want you to track your time. I want you to write down every single thing that you do, the time that you start, the time that you finish, because what we want to determine is what is it that you're doing, right? And so that includes social media, that includes phone calls, that includes text message, responding to email, watching TV, whatever the case may be. Write down everything that you do for a week. Because what this does is, one, it helps you to see how much time you are actually spending doing what. Sometimes we'll be amazed at how much time we're actually spending doing what. If any of you have an iPhone, you know that the iPhone has this feature on it that lets you know how much time you're spending doing certain apps on your phone. When it first came out, I actually hated it, right? Because it's like, I don't need you telling me how long I've been on Facebook. You know, I understand that I'm on there too much, right? But this is a great way to see how much time are you spending doing certain things in your day. In addition to it being a tool to help you figure out how much time you're spending doing certain things or what are the things that you're doing, it will also help you to identify the times of day that are most productive for you. It'll help you to identify the times of day when you have the most distractions or interruptions. And think about how valuable that information is. Because if you know that you're most productive from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m., God bless you if you are. But if you know that that is your most productive time of day, then that is the time of day that you want to spend doing the things that require the most attention or the most of your time. So it allows you to do that. Then if we know the times of day that you have the most distractions, then you know the things that you need to put into place to be able to possibly eliminate those distractions. And so the first thing that I say to everybody who is interested in being a better manager of their time is to start tracking your time. Do it for a week. Do it on a good week, right? So a week that's going to have some things going on that's normal, that's typical for your week, right? So once you figure those things out and you determine like your most productive time of day, you figured out the time of day that is not very productive for you, then you can start planning accordingly. So I can tell you for myself, That 5 a.m. to 10 a.m., nunca, never will I be most productive at that time of day. I'm going to have the biggest attitude if I am awake from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's not my sweet spot. That's not the time of day when I'm most productive. Honestly, I am most productive when everybody else has taken off for the day. So sometimes I might not get started in my day until like noon, but in the late evenings, I get more done because most people think that the day is over, the work day is over. So I have less distractions. And I don't know, it's just something about me and my body rhythms, just things that I've just learned about myself that is the most productive time of day. And I don't listen to people who say the early bird gets the worm or you successful people wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I think that's all a bunch of bull. And you really have to do what it is that works for you. Waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning is not going to make me successful. It's probably going to make me lose some relationships because I'm going to be mean at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm just being honest. So that time of day does not work for me. So it is really important when you're thinking about managing your time like a CEO that you manage your time based on what works for you. And this is also something that I implement in my business and with my team. We don't have hours or schedules. Nobody has to clock in. I don't care when my team works. They could work at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. As long as deadlines are being met, that is what is important to me. I want them to work on the times that work best for them. And we all on different time zones and all that kind of stuff. And then everybody has different patterns. One of the members on my team has an infant. And so she might have to work when that little boy is asleep, right? And that is fine. That's what I want. I want people to work when it's most productive for them, because when you force yourself to be up at a certain time and do the certain things, you're probably less productive. So okay, I beat that horse long enough. Let me wet my throat because. And then let's talk. So next, another thing that I do is the night before, I always plan tomorrow. So tonight, before I go to sleep, I will sit down and figure out what are the things that I want to accomplish tomorrow. And I keep it short, like do not make this list super long, because when you make it super long, you make it impossible to complete those tasks. And so I will create a list of the things that I want to do, the things that I want to create, or the things that I want to accomplish tomorrow. I'll make that list tonight, right? And what that does is it helps me to prioritize things. So I don't have to worry about if I wake up in the morning to an email that says, hey, Bernadette, can you send such and such and such and such, that my whole day gets thrown off. Now, occasionally that may happen, especially if it's an emergency. You know, accounting emergencies are kind of hilarious, but if it's an emergency, then maybe that's the case. But deciding tonight what I'm going to do tomorrow helps me be a lot more efficient, because I'm basing that, again, I'm kind of basing it on what I got done today. And so based on that, and so another thing that I do is I may make a list for the week, and then I make my daily list, but I always make my daily list. So tonight before I go to bed, I will make a list of the things that I want to accomplish tomorrow. And then I assign a time to that. So I may look at something and say, let's say, for instance, if I need to work on a forensic case, and I know that the work that I'm going to do on this case is going to take me at least 2 to 3 hours, right? I know it's going to take me 2 to 3 hours. Number one, I am never going to work 2 to 3 hours straight. Nope, I don't do it. I typically work in 50-minute blocks. So if I know that this big task, if I got a task that's going to take 2 to 3 hours, believe that I only have about 2 more things on my list for the day, because I'm just not about that life anymore, right? And so if I know this task is going to take me 2 to 3 hours, I may say that I'm going to work on this, because my productive time is usually in the evenings. I may say that I'm going to work, or late afternoons, I'm going to work on this from 3 to 5:30, right? I may say, I may allot that amount of time that I'm going to work on it. And typically what I do is I work 50 minutes straight and then I take a break. And so in that break, I may go to the bathroom, I may go get a snack, I may go get some water, may check my email, may play around on Facebook, whatever it is. I get my little 10-minute break and then I'm back at it, right? And so that is how I get things done. And because I'm super, super focused during that 50 minutes, I get a lot of stuff done. So here's something that I want to say. I don't multitask. Multitasking does not work, right? It is more efficient if you focus on one thing at a time and get that thing done and move to the next thing than to be bopping all over the place, right? So I probably skipped ahead in my notes, but I schedule the times that I'm going to get those things done and I work in 50-minute blocks. So I work 50 minutes straight and then I am taking a 10-minute break. And then I go back at it again for 50 minutes and I take a 10-minute break. I remember I said at the beginning, I don't do this every day now, most days. It's probably about 90% of the days, but the other 10% of the days, I'm kicking myself because I didn't do this. The other thing that I do that helps me to be more efficient when it comes to my time is I schedule everything. And so all of my appointments are scheduled. All of my calls are scheduled. I don't necessarily schedule text messages, but most of my friends know to text me. Don't just call me, because if you just call me, first of all, I'm gonna freak out, because if you're my friend and you're calling me, it's probably something going on, something, and so I'm gonna be freaking out. And when it comes to people who call me, like when I look at my call log, it's a real short list of people who will just call me. Most people know to text me, right? And so even if it is a text message to say, hey, can you talk later, or you got a minute or something like that, a text message is better for me, because unscheduled calls are disruptive. That's the reason why I don't do it in my business. If you call my office and say, hey, I was calling to see if I could speak to Bernadette, my assistant is going to tell you need an appointment. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm not. But remember, I said I've already blocked out this 2.5 hours to work on this forensic case. So if you call while I'm working on this forensic case, one, you have disturbed me. So if I happen to stop what I'm doing to take your call, I'm going to be distracted because my mind is on that case. And so that's the reason why I like to have a scheduled time that we're going to speak, because if I know that we're speaking from 1:30 to 2 o'clock, that time is allotted just for you. And I'm not thinking about anybody else or anything else but what we plan to talk about in that 30-minute time period. And so I schedule everything, and I don't allow people to disrupt that schedule. Now, again, if it's an emergency, but again, I've been in business for 22 years. I haven't had a whole lot of real accounting emergencies, right? So don't take unscheduled phone calls. Well, I don't. I'm gonna just say that I don't. You could do it if you want to, but I don't. So some other tips. I've already said this. Stop multitasking. It doesn't work. Do one thing at a time, get it done, and then move on to the next thing. Another thing is use the D&D on your phone. Do not disturb. And so if you have an iPhone, they have this feature on there now where you can create different focuses. So I use focus a lot. So I may have my notifications silenced when I'm working. I have a work focus. And so work focus will silence my notifications while I have work on, and it'll allow calls in from my favorites. And so I have, like, my mom is in my favorites, and my daughter is in my favorites. So that if one of them call me, and they're gonna text first, right? And so, but if one of those people call me, they are able to get through. I also use the sleep focus section. So automatically at 10 p.m., my phone goes into sleep mode, and it's in sleep mode until 8 a.m. I know that's a lot of hours. I know I don't need that much sleep, but I don't want to talk to nobody from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. And so that is the time that I have my phone in focus on sleep mode. And so in sleep mode, you could call me all you want. It's going to go to voicemail. You could text me all you want. I will not get the notifications because I have it in sleep mode. And that helps me too, because I don't need people disrupting my sleep or my quiet time. Because even though I wake up before 8 o'clock, I spend some time just being quiet. I love quiet. I love that, right? And so just being quiet in the morning helps me to use that. So use your do not disturb, and use it for however it's going to work for you. But I'm going to tell you, it helps you to eliminate those distractions and allows you to get more things done. The other thing is I don't have an audible notification on my email. So if you use Outlook or Gmail or anything like that, I don't get a ding every time somebody sends me an email, because you know what? If I did, I would be crazy. I honestly don't have any audible notifications on my phone. My phone is always on silent. So if I lose it, I don't know. It's lost, because 98% of the time, probably 99% of the time, my phone is on silent. I've tried to turn the ringer on my phone, and as soon as I get an audible notification, it gives me so much anxiety that I just can't. I cannot stand the sound of a ringing phone, and I can't stand the constant dinging from text messages or emails or things like that. I just rather check my phone when I'm ready to check my phone, and not because I got some kind of ding. And so I turn off the notifications on my devices so that I don't have to worry about that. Another thing that I do to manage time is because I get a lot of great ideas, right? I get ideas like just popping in my head all the time. So I have this thing called a parking lot, and it's a note on my phone. Every time I get a great idea, I pull up that note on my phone and I write it on the note. Because if I don't do that, I will be tempted to act on that great idea in that particular moment. And so putting it in my parking lot means that I'll come back and I'll revisit this. So I'll revisit my parking lot when I'm creating my list for tomorrow or something like that. I'll revisit my parking lot when maybe I'm looking for ideas for content or ideas for social media posts or whatever the case may be. I may look at my parking lot. And so this helps me to keep from being all over the place, right? Because it's real easy. You get a good idea and you're like, ooh, 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 right? Or you think of something that you need to do and it's ooh, ooh, ooh. So I put it in my parking lot. That again helps me to manage that. So that's the whole time management piece. The second part of being able to manage your time like a CEO, and one of the reasons why I can work 4 hours, I'm not 4 hours, I'm not there yet, 4 days a week and take a week off every month, is because I have built a team. And this is the most important part of it all, building a team. And understanding that building a team means that these could be people that support you personally, or they could be people that support you in your business. But then these are people who support you in some kind of way. So let's talk about, like, why do you want to build a team? Why would I build a team? Because you cannot do this alone. I don't care what people say. When I see self-made, whatever, like, nobody does it alone. You can't do it alone. You have to enlist the help of other people. If you are trying to build something big, even if you're trying to build something small, sometimes I try to put a shelf together and I caught hell trying to put that shelf together by myself. You need help sometimes, right? So building a team will also allow you to be able to serve more people. And so that is one of the things that I had to realize for myself is, if I build a team, then I can help more small business owners, because there are only so many hours in a day. There are only so many things that I can do. Even when I was working insane hours, there was still only so much that I could do myself. And so building a team helps me to serve other people. Building a team also helps me to operate in my zone of genius. There are things that I am freaking amazing at. I am dope as hell when it comes to these things, right? Nobody can do it better than me, right? That's how I feel anyway. These are the things that I absolutely rock at. These things, I am so good at these things that if you were crazy enough to wake me up at 2:00 in the morning and ask me a question about this thing, I can answer that question half asleep and go back to sleep. Those are the things that I absolutely rock at. And those are the things that I enjoy doing the most. So when I build a team, building a team means that I get people to support me in other areas of my life, and it allows me to operate in the space where I am a rock star. The other thing that building a team does is it helps you to create opportunities, right? And so I believe that when we build our businesses, we cannot build these businesses just for us. One of my business core values and personal core values is legacy. Legacy is really important to me. It is important that whatever I do, it is not all about me. It is not just something for me. It is also so that I can help someone else or help the next generation. Like, it is my hope that what I'm doing today is going to impact my grandchildren and their children and their children, right? So you create opportunities. So now let's talk about, like, how do we do this? How do you build this team? So one of the things that you want to do is do a needs assessment. What is it that you need? What you need help with, right? And this is the piece that a lot of people struggle with, because some things you hold on to that you probably don't need to be holding on to. There are some things that you need to let go of that you're still holding on to. So in that needs assessment, what are the things that you do that are outside of that zone of genius? What are the things that you do that you don't have to be you to do, right? So one of the things that I do, I coach lawyers. That's one of the areas or industries that I do a lot of work in. And so one of the things that I do when I'm coaching lawyers and we're talking about the needs assessment is I tell them to write down everything that you do that you don't need to be a lawyer to do it. And when I tell them to do that, they are astonished at the things that they're currently doing that you don't need a law degree to do, right? And so when you do a needs assessment, think about where your area of expertise is. And then I want you to, maybe you can look at that time audit that you did when you're looking at all the things that you're doing on a weekly basis. What are the things that you're doing that you don't need to be you to do, right? Because once you identify those things, those are some of the things that you're going to be putting on this outsource list or delegate list, however you want to look at it. So the needs assessment is that identifying those things that you're doing that you don't have to be you to do. Then the other part of it is identifying the things that you're doing that you really ain't that good at. Like, can we just be honest for a second? Like, there are some things that you are doing, you're not that good, right? You ever had somebody that cooked some food and they really thought it was good, but it wasn't that good, right? So this is the time when you need to have a little come to Jesus meeting with yourself, right? And this is the meeting where you identify, like, what are the things that I'm doing that I'm really not that good at? And I can remember that there were some things in my business that I was doing, I wasn't that good at it. Like, I did okay, like, I know how to write. I'm an author. I've written some books, but I also have an amazing editor, right? And so after I wrote the book, my editor made it look good, right? Polished it up and all those things, right? There are some things that I know how to do. I know how to do Canva, but it don't look like what it looked like when my graphic designer does Canva, right? And so there are some things that you're doing that you don't need to be doing those things, right? And then once you've done your needs assessment, your skills assessment, now let's prioritize this. What is the thing that you need to get off your plate first? What are the things that you're doing that you need to get off of your plate first? And so when I think about, I have gotten to the point now where there are so many things that I don't do anymore that I'm just scoffing, like, I can't believe it took me this long to get somebody else to do these things, right? And so prioritize those things to figure out, like, who you're going to hire first as you are thinking about managing your time like a CEO. And so this is what I do. This is how I'm able to get more done. This is how I'm able to serve more people. This is how I'm able to impact the lives of more people because of that team, I feel like, I always feel like I'm feeding a whole lot of people. I say I'm paying a couple of mortgages and rent. I don't know, maybe about 3 or 4 mortgages. I don't know, right? And so, but needless to say, I know that the work that I'm doing is impacting other people, and it allows me to operate in a better space when it comes to serving the people that I serve. So I hope that I shared some information tonight that was helpful to you. And I appreciate your time.